sure it's been a long time since I last made a video. What the hell am I gonna talk about if I do make another one? Oh hey, I know, I'll talk about that one character from FNaF 4 that literally everybody treats as important. Everybody! Pigtail Girl. A character who literally showed up once in the franchise and never again. And somehow has 50 billion theories on her. Golden Freddy is Red Pigtail Girl? The Pigtail Girl be Elizabeth Afton. Pigtail Girl Theory! Is the Ice Cream Girl the same character as Pigtail Girl? Father of the Pigtail Girl is Henry! What? Wait, what if JJ possessed the Pigtail Girl? Hear me out, boys! The overlooked importance of the Pigtail Girl in FNaF 4. I feel like by this point, if there is supposed to be an importance, it is far from overlooked. Like, I'm not against the idea of giving the more obscure characters of the series more lore than was probably intended, but this kid has so many theories on her, and a good chunk of the fans act like she's somehow some big key to solving the fourth game. You know, even though she hasn't appeared since that game. Then again, the victim hasn't either, so who am I to judge? Over my time in the fandom, I've seen 3 main theories, technically 4, but I'm just grouping 2 of them together because they're basically the same idea, about this character and what she means for the overall lore. And again, for shits and giggles, I thought it would be fun if I talked about it. Starting with... The first time I heard about the whole Pigtail Girl equals Charlie theory, or even just the whole Pigtail Girl equals puppet theory, since I'm pretty sure it's just a location hadn't even dropped at the time, was from a video Andy-Matronic made. And honestly, I still say the evidence mostly holds up, to an extent. The main piece of evidence was, assuming the puppet is the final speaker, it would explain why Pigtail Girl and Fredbear Plush have the same text color. The theory mainly hinges on you thinking that the puppet is also the final speaker at the end of FNaF 4, and yeah, it would explain the text color being similar, but yeah, outside of that, that's sort of it. Outside of the possible answer that Animatronic thought of, that she was directly outside of Freddy's. But even then, the kid with the spring Bonnie toy is even closer to Freddy's. What stops him from being the puppet? Also, the fact that Midnight Motorist kind of implies that, you know, Charlie died before Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Sure, you could argue the Pigtail Girl was just a ghost, but even then, there's nothing separating her from the other kids to even hint that she is a ghost. So that feels more like a random explanation thought up after someone poised the idea. Like, if you went away and then came back and she was gone, I'd maybe buy that a bit more, but that's not what happens. There's nothing that separates her from the other kids, is to say that she's a ghost. But again, it does explain Final Speaker, so it isn't that bad. The Elizabeth Theory! Another one that's debatably ruined depending on what you think the order of the events are, goddammit. This one pretty much hinges on similarities alone, which, to be fair, it is kind of uncanny how Scott introduced a green-eyed, pigtailed wearing redhead in the game just before we had a main antagonist that was a green-eyed, pigtail wearing redhead. But even then, yeah, this don't look much like Elizabeth. Then again, sprites in this franchise have never been consistent. See 2 Foxy Bros and several William Aftons. I guess there's other stuff that could maybe give this theory more credibility, like the fact she has a similar skin tone to the brother. But at the same time, the brother's skin tone changes throughout the game, so who knows if that was intentional. Yeah, while it was probably the most well-renowned one when I was younger, this one's probably gonna fall flat too. Sorry, guys. Cassidy or Fritz. I'm grouping these 2 together because they're basically in the same group most of the time, being that all the children in FNaF 4 are tied to the MCI. Again, this is another one that hinges on dates, but at the same time, unlike the Charlie one, you could make the argument that this might happen after Five Nights at Freddy's 4, so this one holds a bit more water than the previous 2. The Fritz part is mostly based on the fact that in Stage 01, you see a child in the middle go missing. Presumably referencing the fact that Pigtail Girl talked about how the animatronics hide your body and never tell anyone. Yeah, that doesn't feel all that intentional. And if it was pretty fucking vague. Also, there's the fact that Fritz isn't commonly a girl's name. I know it can be, but it isn't used. But again, the Fritz one could work. If only because it's brought up by a better theory that surrounds it. The Cassidy one, meanwhile, is surprisingly alright. You got a good basis for the whole same text, same color thing. I'm starting to realize all barring one of these theories would not have existed if it weren't for this one measly detail, Jesus. Though, while Cassidy being the plushie makes sense to this logic, you fall into the same problem as the Charlie one, is that there's no evidence that the kid we see here is a ghost. And while the Fritz and Elizabeth theory, but at least they have the leeway of whether or not the incident they died in happened before or after FNAF 4. This one mainly hinges on the fact we see is a ghost and that she's also the plushie. Without it, the theory just kind of becomes she has pigtails and Cassidy presumably also had pigtails. And that ain't much beyond a slightly interesting headcanon, if you ask me. Which, in all honesty, I feel like what a lot of these fall into. Aside from the Charlie one, which, while interesting, definitely has evidence going against it, the other three just sort of seem like decent enough and innocent headcanons, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, I don't even mind the Charlie one, even if I did say there was debatable evidence against it. Hell, depending on how you order the events in the series, there's evidence for or against all three of these ideas. But, hey, they're cool. I just still find it kind of funny that a character this unnecessary and blink and you'll miss it somehow spawned this many theories. And, hey, maybe that's part of the joy of theorizing FNAF to begin with. And that should be it for the video. I'm not sure how often I'll upload, especially because recording the dialogue for this was hell. But, hey, maybe I'll do more. Depends how I'm feeling. Not all my videos are going to be FNAF. I hope you guys enjoyed. And, hey, maybe I'll see you the next time I make a video, whenever that ends up happening.
Bye. I'll be your friend right to the end of the party.
Okay, but for real, I'll make a new outro eventually.